Okay, Kennedy Bridges, given the water shortage facing Southern California, do you support the continued building of large housing tracts in Wildomar? 2 minutes, please.
Large is a very difficult thing to define. It means different things to different people. I'm not in favor of a vast expansion of rooftops until we can balance out our development of commercial properties and businesses that can provide revenue streams for the community. I also think that we must deal with the water shortage. It's not going to go away. We need to take a really hard look at what we're building, what size we are building, what kind of landscaping we are going to approve and support. I bought a house here almost 23 years ago. It had sloping lawns and things like that, which had built-in water wastage. And I think that we need to really take hold of that with our architectural guidelines and whatnot, and make sure that we are using water very, very carefully, because it is a limited and precious resource, and we're not going to have more. We're going to have to deal with less.
Whether you build large tracts or small tracts or whatever, I don't think that we can set policy that says we can't have homes in Wildomar. First of all, these developers go to the water district. I also serve on the EVMW, on the committee with Marcia, and we're meeting with the water district once a month, and so that we can coordinate information. My biggest concern is, if the water district gives will-serve letters, then they'll give will-serve letters. I just got the 10-year master plan, and I'm going to be reading through that from the water district. But my biggest concern is sewer capacity. If we don't have more sewer capacity down around the Clinton Keith area in a somewhat timely manner, and I know it's going to be a while because the water district doesn't have the funding, we're not going to be able to have commercial development. I'm more concerned about that. We won't get tax revenue in here. We have large areas of Wildomar that don't have infrastructure. They don't have water. They don't have sewer. So we're going to maybe have to look at some funding mechanisms for that, like we did with Clinton Keith Road, or we wouldn't have anything on the east side of the 15 today if we didn't have that facilities district. So I think everybody in California is concerned about water, and none more so than EVMWD, and everybody's discussing it, everybody's trying to figure out what they're going to do. Our water rates are now tiered. We have to conserve, we just have to continue to do things like that. But I don't think we have a right to say we're not going to allow building unless we absolutely don't have, the water district says that's it, we're done. So.
Yeah, this definitely feels like a question that fits into the water district a lot more. And I would agree with Cheryl that that's whether or not they want to let you build, and whether or not they're going to give you that little letter. Some great things about the way we do our landscaping, or the way we, as a city, we can ask them to change their landscaping and get rid of that sloping hills and everything else that causes the water just to run down the hill. And that's definitely something we can look at in our general plan when we redo that. I personally live on a well, and it costs me a lot in electricity. It costs me a lot to pull that head out and put a new pump on, which is on my list of to-dos right now. And the more I talk to people in the community, the happier I am that I live on that well, because the water bills are amazing. And the good news is, though, that tiered system, I'm hearing we're getting a 30% savings as far as conservancy. So people are looking at the bill and they're adjusting as much as they can. As a city, can we help out even more? I don't know. Or maybe we can work with the water district and help different parts of the community that are getting those larger bills but don't have the means to go out there and change the sprinklers. If we can find some ways to help them do that. But definitely in our newer structures, it's almost as we're going to take the most savings. As we build these newer houses and we can put in those design guides that will allow us to keep that water usage under wraps, the better off we're going to be. as opposed to some of the older homes that do have that problem, and we're going to go in there and just redo the entire area.
Okay, we do have a water shortage here. We are going to be fighting for our water rights pretty soon. It's going to be ugly, but we do have a working relationship, I believe, with EMWD. They have come across with some great conservation efforts, new sprinklers, and what can we do as a city is update our landscape ordinance. We just did, but I think it should be a little stronger. We also need to work with HOAs that are coming in, and they need to know we live in a desert. 70% hardscaping would be fantastic, would save a lot. And you know, if you do the hardscaping really well, it would boost your rating up. And you'd be able to spend that money that you're saving on that water at our local restaurants and retail stores when they come.
Boy, it's been so long, I almost forgot the question. But yes, I would support large development as well as small development. Rooftops drive commercial. That's the only way we are going to get economic development here, is if there's people here that need those services and are willing to pay for them. I agree, Elsinore Valley Municipal Water District looks at every project before it even comes to the city. It can't even be turned in without a well serve, so that the water is there and we know that it's going to be good water for the community. I toured the Delta and up through Sacramento with one of our water directors and got to see kind of what went on up there, and it was amazing. Some of the laws that California is passing are killing us. There's a little fish up there that we're saving. Now, I'm not against fish, especially if they're in a frying pan, but they picked these fish up and moved them to another point so another fish wouldn't eat them, and the fish they were worried about eating them is not even a native California fish. And they learned real fast where they were dumping them in. So, you know, water is the most important. And right now, Elsinore Valley has a great program on their site. I think it's just about up and running to help you landscape. It will tell you what plants to put in, which ones are going to use water, which ones aren't going to use water. You can sit there and design your whole landscaping online in order to save water, and we do all have to save water. That's absolutely important.
I've sat here and watched the valley grow, and I was always amazed how many housing tracts were coming in here. And every time, all I heard was, we're in a drought, we're in a drought, we're in a drought, every time. And then I delivered the plans for Red Hawk. I delivered the plans for Temecula. I did all that planning. I've seen it all, and you know what? I think it's a bunch of crap. I think we do have the water. They don't want to give us the water, and it's just another route for the EMWD guys to tier our systems. And it's just unbelievable to me. I was always on wells, and then when I moved to my new place over here for the last 14 years, it's a nightmare. And it's 2.5 acres, and they want me to water it with a garden hose, basically. The water's here in California. It's the state that's the problem. It's not us. It's not the local areas. Yeah, you need to put in things that are water conservation. Yeah, we put in plants at our place that don't take so much water. That's just smart because it's cost so much money. But for them to say, you know, we need to cut back on housing. You know what? Houses is where it's at. That's jobs. That's people moving into the area. Nothing goes if there's nobody living here. It's a great place out in the desert. You go out there, there's nobody there, just the turtles. I mean, I don't want to live in the desert. We do live in a desert here, but we do have the water. And I know these guys come up with all their nonsense, you know, and the state's holding it all back. And I agree. They're the problem. It really isn't our local issues. Except for they're just reaming us for every dime we have for water.